If you're not confident enough to do this, then you're not waterproof and you're not ready to tile. Today's video, I'm going to show you how to waterproof your shower window. Now, the three major enemies you've got in this situation is getting leaks, not having the correct slope, and also making the transition from one material to the next. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to do it properly so you can have the confidence that you're never going to have a leak. Let's get into it. First of all, the information we give today is going to be very applicable to doing any shower niche, any time of recessed wall, okay, waterproofing. The products that we're using today specifically are designed to waterproof this window, which is a vinyl window, which is brand new. Buy a window that has what I call right here, it's called the drywall return. This is a 1/2 inch gap that the curdy board that we're going to use fits inside of, okay? And this becomes something that we can add sealant to, put our curdy board in, and then we can seal on top of it, and then add tile and then seal on top of it. It's a sandwich that gives you that waterproofing. So we're going to measure up to the gap. It is 12 1/4. We are going to cut our board 12 1/2 because the gap itself is 1/4 inch deep, okay? So 12 1/2 here. We should be consistent all the way around because we put the window in pretty level. At the top, it's 12 1/4, and over here it'll be 12 1/4. And I'm going to start here, and what I'm going to do is estimate the size of my panel. I'll just cut it the size of the hole first. 32 inches, let's go that way. We have this little nook here, okay? What we're going to want to do is cut that one out just right here like this. Get that out of the way, and then we got to do the same thing basically up here. Get a knife in there. There we go. Okay. Now, the reason we have to put the sides in first is because we're going to put a slope on the bottom. The slope for the bottom, you can actually do it mistake in two different directions. You can put too much slope or not enough. Now, I am going to take this little leftover material, and we're going to use it for the purpose of creating our slope. Here's the thing about these windows. This window was designed with a 1/4 inch rise from the bottom of the window to this ledge, okay? And in this particular case, we're almost exactly 12 inches. So a 1 degree slope is what we're going for. Now, 1 degree slope is a 1/4 inch over 1 foot. When you buy a package of shims, they're about 12 inches long and a 1/4 inch thick at the one end, going down to 0. Wait a minute, Jeff, you mean all I gotta do is put a shim in there and I've got the right slope? Yep. First, I want you to put in the shim to get it to the height of the bottom of that window. All right, something like this, because shims are level. Okay, that actually is pretty right on the money here. And then we're gonna add our 1/4 inch thick shim, which should take us right to flush inside to that edge. That is perfect. Now we're just going to rough fit this in for the purpose of our demonstration and getting our slope line. Because we want to do this thinking like water, which means we're going to put the bottom in first. That means the side is going to sit on top of this. So by tracing out where that contact point is, we'll actually have this perfectly cut and designed to sit on top of this. Hold my knife nice and flush to the bottom here. And just trace that cut line. Okay, done. Now, I'm going to find that cut line. There it is. Now, on the back side here, I'm just going to put a little bit of a bevel. Now you see that I've got it sloped. Now remember, that's the back. So when I set this board in place, there would be a gap there. And so what we're going to do is we'll put the bottom panel down first, apply a nice thick bead of sealant, and be able to set this right into the sealant. And that is going to give us extra layer of protection. Now, we have this one cut and measured. That's fantastic. So we got to do the same thing on the other side now. Okay, now we'll get that one all the way in. Beautiful. I am really a little bit too snug into that ceiling. I'm going to just making sure we're leaving room for the sealant. Now that gives us both of our sides. That's just cut masterfully. Now we have to measure for our bottom panel. Try to just keep this nice and simple. We're going to measure the window itself, okay, outside of the frame, plus the 1/2 inch depth of that channel for each side, okay? This is a simple measurement. So the window itself is 30 7/8. So we're gonna go 31 and 7/8 on the back side, and we're making a big wedge, okay? The goal is to get the exact measurement side to side here, 32 3/4, and our depth is going to be up to this part of the window. Again, I'm at 12 1/4, I'm at 12 1/4, plus a 1/4 inch for the channel depth. So we're gonna go 12 1/2, front to back. It's gonna be simple. We'll cut the 12 1/2 first, and then, well, instead of talking about it, let's just show you. I'm at 16 1/8, and then over here, 15 7/8. That's a 1/4 inch different. Okay, this side of the window, we're almost perfectly square. Now on the other side, we have a little bit of a bevel. That should get me about as close to perfect as I can possibly hope for here. Before we can move forward, now that we've got this dry fit, we can always double check our sides, okay? This is the right side, this is the left side. We're gonna see that because we don't have the shims in, our slope is too aggressive. So before we assemble all this, we gotta put all those shims back in place and then screw all this bottom piece down. But now you can start to see the shape of this. I'm happy with this, I'm ready to move forward. 2 shims. And then my slope. And then I got the ramp there, and my ramp there, good. Okay, the panel itself, it's a pretty rigid board, okay? And remember, we're not gonna be putting any weight on this of any significance until after the tile is on. Once the tile goes on here and it's bonded together, this isn't going anywhere. Be more than sufficient to stand on. So now we got to talk about how do we seal this to the window. This is where a lot of people fail, because over time, if you get any kind of damage at all during your install, or your sealant, if your silicone breaks later, water can get underneath between the vinyl and this waterproof membrane, travel around, and then start dripping, okay? So, that's where the Crudifix comes in. Perfect. This doesn't need to be punctured, so that's good. We'll just stick it all in there. Now, what we're going to do is apply a bead right to the very back wall, okay, and force our panel to push it out of the way. I'm getting about 1/8 of an inch of sealant. I'm on an angle, pushing, like pulling away from my application for a reason, so that I'm not grooving it out. If I was pushing while I squeezed it, I'd be just dragging it all out of the hole. By being on an angle, I can leave it behind. Nice, thick 1/8 of an inch bead, sorry. And finish that off nice and thick. Beautiful. Get our shims back in place. We can set it on here. Slide it right in. Boom. Now that is perfect, okay? We have mechanical fasteners as well as the sealant. Now these screws are very generous. So we actually can go right through the shim into the 2x4 underneath. Okay, and that'll hold everything in place. Just for a little extra rigidity, I'm opening up just a little bit, okay? See if I can get enough foam in here to create a bit of a seal. This will set up in time for when I do my waterproofing measures. That it'll offer a little bit of resistance. It'll make tooling this whole area a lot easier. Okay, alrighty. Now, time to do the sides. This is a lot of fun. All right, so same thing. We're gonna do, first of all, we'll do the 1/2 inch channel. So we're pulling away, leaving that big blob in behind. This is making sure that, I mean, you'd have to be pretty wild and crazy with your water here, but some people like to have the body jets and the water's firing all over the place. They like to take the hand shower and then rinse out the window or the niche or whatever have you to get hair and stuff out of there and wash their bathroom down. And they assume that everybody is waterproofing to make things actually waterproof, when in actuality, most people are just assembling so it looks pretty when it's finished. Yeah, here we go. Nice thick bead, okay? And I mean nice and thick. And Matt's just over there laughing in the background. I never know when I'm going to say something that he thinks is funny. Here we go. And then there we are. So now we're pressed down into the sealant. Okay, we're going to just get a couple more washers going here. Beautiful. You can see why it's important to make sure you did all your dry fitting first, right? Because you don't want to have something that doesn't fit properly and having it still nice and flush on the outside wall, but not squeezed all the way back to compress all of this adhesive. Now, whenever you're using a sealant, that's going to be buried. It's invisible. You want to be able to have the ability to get your product in place and set it into it, okay? So, for instance, my height, I have the room in this application to slide my product all the way over, get it roughly into position, and then set it right down onto it. Fire it all the way back. This stuff is incredibly sticky. If it squeezes out on you, don't touch it with your skin. It'll be there for about 7 days. All right, now having said that, I do want to intentionally run a very small bead of sealant here because we do have a Curdy waterproofing system. We could use the Curdy band in this scenario and then call it good, but I would much rather have a sealant here as well. This Curdy Fix stuff is no joke. It just works. Getting just a leftover shim, a little bit of pressure. Let's make sure that that penetration there is also covered. Beautiful. Now, it's not the end of it. We still got to put on the top, but I'm going to give you this little hint right here. Do the same thing to the window right here. Little bead. And this one, you can go straight on, pretty much 90 degrees, and that'll push the material onto both of these two products. Remember we talked in the beginning the combination materials. Now we're going vinyl to Schluter. This is a sealant layer that you're going to want to have that combines these two materials together. And remember this rule, guys, when you're doing your bathroom, waterproofing should be waterproof before you add the tile. Okay? Anything we do with tile is cosmetic. You should not be relying on tile and a little bit of silicone at the end of the project to make something waterproof. It should be waterproof before you start tiling. We're just trying to flatten this out now, making sure that we got good contact. I'm gonna go 12 1/4. 12 1/4, just like the last time. Yes, sir. 31 5/8. Now we already know that this one's on square. We learned that the last time. I'm just simply gonna measure over 30 3/4. Yeah, this is actually going to fit really nice. Let's get that filled up really good this time. Our depth here is just a little inconsistent, so we'll go with more material. In this particular case, because we're sliding it in and it's relatively different thicknesses as we go along, I'm going to lift it up into the goo, slide it in. So again, we're going to think like water. We're going to measure out and cut a piece of this that will do the wrap. There's my spot right there, there to there. We're going to use scissors instead of a knife. The scissors do a better job of cutting straight, and because this is a woven fabric, if you use a knife, you'll find that it slips and changes direction a lot on this woven fabric. Okay, so use the scissors. Protect yourself from accidental cuts. That is a real thing and it happens all the time. Right there, I was just putting a crease in it so it has like an outside edge. All right, my son Matt went and whipped up my thin set. This stuff looks really good too. This kid is getting good at what he does, man. Oh yeah, look at that. Nice and loose, right? You want it nice and loose. You want it to be able to be something that you can barely control, okay? Oh, there we go, just like that. You want to barely control it, all right? Get your Schluter Curdy trowel, or a 1/4 by 1/4, not even, 1/8 by 1/8, I think is what you need. Yeah, this is an 8 by 8, okay? 1/8 of an inch. Now, cool thing about this CurdyFix stuff, you can cement right over top of it while it's wet. And we want to take the excess off. We don't want to have too much of this on here. We want to be very, very specific with the amount of material that we have up here, okay? Now, it's easier to be a little bit more generous underneath because we're not going to create a ridge. Remember, we only have a 1 degree slope. So if you use too much thin set on the top, you will affect the slope, and possibly, if water gets in behind your tile, you will affect the ability for that water to drain out. We're going to get this in position. Now, in order to avoid getting really messy, you want to have a second trowel. You want to use that just to be able to hold things straight. And then you want to press this out. Now, I'm going to hold this edge and I'm going to press this out going away from the edge just to make sure that I'm not getting any ridges. Thinking like water, the next weakest spot in this assembly is going to be in the inside corners, okay? What we do is we pick up a tile outside corner. This is important because they make two kinds. They make an inside corner and an outside corner. And this is an outside corner that if you put it on this way, instead of the print side out, it's a fleece on both sides, you put on this way and it works perfectly for this application. All right, so same thing. Look how big it is, right? You want to make sure you got more than enough material here. Now, we're going to just set this corner first. Okay. It's kind of like roofing here now. You want to really apply all of the wisdom that goes into water diversion. We want to get that pressed in nice and tight. We want to get this one pressed in, hold the membrane. Always press away from you. That gets your tightest corners. Now, we're going to press away from that corner. Okay, and then we'll come at it on a 45 and just clean it up from there. There we go. And we'll do that to the other corner as well. Pull this away. All right, and then clean it all up. Now we can measure roughly to the ceiling and then roughly down to that opening. Oh no, I just did that. I just dropped my roll of cloth right in the thin set. Okay, let's see what kind of a mess we made here. Yeah, lovely. Now this is the last bit of this that I need on this job, so we're going to sacrifice this because I'd rather work clean. I won't be using any of that membrane tape for almost a year, I think. We'll save that for across the top. We got our two sides. That's what's important. There we go. Now, the goal with their Schluter products, if you weren't aware yet, is to try to have a 2-inch overlap. The outside corner is actually closer to 4, so we're well within any kind of parameter here. All right, and if you're in the trades and you haven't taken the free Schluter course, I recommend it. I mean, they'll teach you how to use their products properly. Lots of guys are using them wrong. And products and recommendations change over time because Schluter's always doing field testing of different products and concepts, and so as their understanding and wisdom grows, or they'll update you. All right, again, just thinking like water, right? Water deflection. Water always takes the path of the least resistance. So if you start at the bottom and you layer yourself up, you're in good shape. Because we are in a bathroom, we are going to find that this is not a steam shower, okay? If this was a steam shower, this application would be a little bit different. I would have the wallboard extend down and I'd put the ceiling in first so that water wouldn't be able to get in behind the tape and then get trapped. Okay? That's the only difference. If you don't have a steam shower, that means you have a fan in the shower area exhausting all that warm air, and it's going to solve all the problems that you're going to face with any moisture and drippage. I'm just noticing that this is out a little proud. So we are going to trim that back right now while we're thinking about it before I forget. Sometimes when I'm on the camera, guys, I just move through the project too fast and I miss things. Now, it really is important when you're working with this, try to remove all the excess you can possibly find. Okay? Because you don't want to start creating new surfaces that the tile has to work around that create lippage. Quick thing. I noticed one of my trowels got in that gap. Made a bit of a mess here, right? That means I don't have confidence that the sealant is stayed in there. So I'm going to come all the way back with this. Reapply that corner. There we go. All right. Well, there we go, guys. The next step, of course, is to wait until this is completely dry. We come back and we tile.